What's happening, people? It's your girl, Nai.
And your girl, Portia.
And welcome back to
the Tears and Laughter Podcast.
Season 1, Episode
5. Woo!
Episode 5.
I can't believe it. We're sort of halfway towards 10. And I always use 10 as like a whole rounded number because we're going to double digits. Like, we are halfway through going through double digits worth of episodes. I mean, it's absolutely astounding. First, I just want to say the love has been absolutely amazing. You know, from the first podcast, which was shared in terms of binge eating and talking about weight, such a sensitive subject, and going through all the other ones in terms of can you really make it in your 20s, you know, some of the other topics we discussed. Like, I'm so grateful to everyone, and it's just been great to do this with Nai.
Oh,
great to do this with you.
She's got me blushing already. No, seriously, I feel like we really want to say a massive thank you to you all, because we didn't think we was going to get 5 episodes deep and have such great feedback from all of you who have decided to follow us on our socials, reach out to us, DM us. We really do appreciate it. I think, you know, it's been a blessing. I feel very privileged right now. We both feel very privileged to be here talking to you today, and for you to be here listening to us. We're very grateful, and we're just so excited that you're here with us with this journey, and we can't wait to see what the next 5 episodes are going to pump out.
Indeed.
With that being said, if you are new here, first of all, hello and welcome. This is the Tears and Laughter Podcast. I am your host, Nai, alongside my big batty girl, set good friend and co-host,
Portia.
And what you will find from this podcast is a variation of different topics. We talk about things for the culture. We talk about things like friendship. We talk about social issues, and we really just have a good time, and you will have a good time too. One of the things that you're going to find in this podcast is raw, unfiltered, emotional conversation that is going to either have you laughing, your heart's content, or crying your eyes out. There's no in between. But one thing you do know is you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to have a really good time. So one of the things that we like to do before we start any podcast is we always talk about, and we always like to share 2 positive things that have happened to us this week and 2 negative things that have happened to us this week. So I'll start. 2 positives that have happened this week so far. I mean, obviously, it's been quite a whirlwind in terms of May itself. You know, we're in the change season. The sun is out. The guns are out. My guns are blazing. Literally, ciao. But no, I think one positive thing this week has been actually taking time out of my day and going on walks in nature and enjoying the outside. Like, I know if you're like me and you work remotely, sometimes it's so hard to actually dedicate that time to get out your house. Like, I can be stuck in my house all day, every day. Push actually dragged me out today on a nice walk. I think that's been a really good positive. And I sunbathed in my garden as well on the weekend. Just to be into one with nature is really positive, because I don't really do that enough, and it made me feel good and tingly and warm inside. I'd say another positive is, I guess, just coming and closing certain chapters on things. I'm about to go into a season of transitioning, and I am positive. I think it's been a positive thing to be able to be in a position where I can close a good chapter and kind of, you know, welcome the new upcoming blessings and change that's coming, which I'm a little bit apprehensive about. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, but it's always good to welcome change. So that's 2 positives. And then 2 negatives. One negative has been I'm currently on the job market, and just the amount of rejection, guys, that I've been getting, like from roles that I am well overqualified for. It's such a cutthroat, intense thing, which is a little bit disheartening, you know. So it's been a little bit negative, but my mindset is what will be for you will come to you. So that's just kind of how I take it. And I think we'll do another episode about kind of facing rejection in the workplace. Because
I think that's a good
Portia topic. And I do work in what is our sector called?
Private sector.
We work in HR and recruitment, I guess. So would it be
people and culture? People and culture.
Yeah. So we work in people and culture as an industry, and we know. So we might do a separate episode on that, maybe.
Yeah, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think another negative has been... Do you know what? I can't think of one. So I'll stick it with the one negative. What about you, sis?
Oh, for me, something which, well, two things which I was really sort of happy about was that I got to fly out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tell us about it, girl.
I was in Barcelona singing my hearts out. And if you followed me, you would have seen on my stories that I'm not that much of a singer. But, you know, it's about enjoyment. So that was nice. A quick weekend getaway. And another thing which was really good was, as you said earlier, Night, today's walk. It was so lovely walking along the lake and seeing the ducks and seeing nature. And we saw quite a lot of people fishing as well. And I didn't know that fishing was a popular hobby to that degree. So it was nice to see people.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
Even one guy said to us, innit, about how it saved his life.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have asked him to come on the podcast. I would have liked to have known more about how fishing helped it saved his life, because he genuinely said that to us today.
Two negatives. It's not really a negative, it's just more something I've been made aware. Like, I got a bad knee. I do have a bad knee at this age, the age of 27. Like, it's shocking. But to me, it just makes me think that you have to invest in your health. And, like, health is something which needs to be maintained. But, yeah.
And maybe not be on your knees so much.
Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees.
Shake that ass for Drake. Yes, papi.
I know. Good time.
Protect Drake at all costs. I don't even want to get... No, it will really get me emotional.
No.
It will really get me emotional because I don't know why anybody's shooting up his house. Honestly,
dear.
This rap beef is getting too much. You know how I feel about Drake, and you know how his...
She a Drake fan, all right.
Let's go into today's topic before I end up crying.
About today's topic.
So today's topic, we are standing on business today, okay? We are standing on business. Yeah, we're not messing about today, because today's topic is teachers are your first bullies.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah.
Said with chest, girl.
Said with my chest. I want to talk about this topic specifically because it's only in my adulthood that I have realised that traumatic things that happened to me at school were at the hands of my teachers, and they've actually left long-lasting effects.
Yes, impacted you.
It has impacted
It impacts
me.
everyone.
And before we go into it, this is a disclaimer. We're not here to slag off teachers. We respect teachers wholeheartedly, and as far as I'm concerned, they don't get paid half enough for what they do. Let me put that out there. However, there are a lot, and I'm talking from personal experience, there are a lot of teachers that, first of all, shouldn't be teachers because they don't have the heart. They don't care enough about the kids. And the second thing is, a lot of them need better training because they don't know how to handle kids. And the third thing is, I don't think teachers actually realise the impact that they have when they do horrible things and bullyish things. And this is why I think it's important to talk about this today.
Let's get into it. Obviously, now you spoke as you opened up this conversation, and you said that, you know, from personal experience, you know, being a victim of teachers bullying. I'd really want to know just a little bit more about that, and then I guess we kind of converse and look at some of the teachers that really help uplift us in schools as well.
Because that's definitely important. I feel like my school experience, and I feel like I've said this on a few of the podcasts, you know, I was very popular in school, and I was a kind of unorthodox popular girl because, of course, we talked about it. I was a big girl. I was quote unquote a fat girl, but I was always popular because I'm just straight up lovable. My personality is 10. The reason why I was popular as well, I ended up having to take the consequences for a classmate's behaviour. And that's when I started to realise that I was being singled out a lot by my teachers. I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not saying I wasn't bad brook in school, or for those who aren't from a Caribbean household, naughty. But I definitely didn't behave to the point where I warranted certain things that happened to me in school.
Can we have an example of what that was?
Yeah, I mean, I will go straight into a story time. This is why I only realise it now that I'm an adult, that it did impact me, because it still affects me to today. And I'm 26 years old. We're talking, I left school a good 10 years ago. And I was in a situation where I was that girl where, because I was loud, because I was confident, because, you know, people followed me, that I attracted a lot of girls who didn't like me as well. But one of the things that I had as a repeat throughout my whole life was I always used to get in trouble for bullying people. But I've never been a bully. Like, obviously, you know, when you're in school, you make fun of kids make fun of you, we all do it to each other. That's just us at school. But there's a difference between being a kid and just making fun of people and ripping people and having dissing matches to actually being a right out bully. And for me, every time I used to get in trouble for bullying, it would always be girls who I was friends with, who were initially in my group, because I was the leader of my my friendship group. I was the leader of the gang. And you're just that way. Some people are leaders, some people are not leaders. And some people are built to be leaders, and some people are leaders and they're not built to be leaders. And sometimes everyone just needs to kind of own what it is. Not everyone needs to be a leader, because when you're a leader, it comes with a lot. And that's what I learned from an early age, because me being the leader of my group, whenever people would get in trouble, I would get in trouble. And like I said, a lot of it was around bullying, and it would be girls that would be in my circle, you know, girls that had moved to the school and I let them hang around in my group and all that sort of stuff. And then like they'd start, or they'd be rude, or whatever happened, or you know, you just fall out with each other as friends, and then immediately as soon as we'd fall out, it'd be Nyamka's bullying me, or Nice bullying me, and they'd be running to teachers.
But there was no evidence.
No other witnesses. I can only talk for my school, but I remember the way schools used to deal with the bullying allegations against me was so bad. It was just like, oh yeah, so Nyamka's the bigger girl, she's the louder girl, so she's the bully. That used to happen quite a lot. And I noticed that every time these girls would come forward and say bullying, my teachers would never hear me out. Like, they would never say...
They'd never question it.
They would question, like, they'd have to, quote unquote, because of protocol. Yeah. But they would never, ever actually hear me out and want to hear my side of the story. Their judgment was already made.
Okay.
And I used to think to myself, why? And obviously, when you're a teenager, you're pubescent, you're self-conscious as hell, because you're trying to fit in, you're trying to be this, you're living up to these expectations. Now, I was a fat girl in school, which, you know, the fat girl always gets called the fat girl, like that's her label, the fat girl. Yeah, so but the reason why it was different for me is because I was popular. It was like people wouldn't really say it unless they were trying to rip me. Like, it wouldn't be a thing where I'd be bullied about it, apart from just idiot boys and like older years. But like, no one in my year, they're gonna call me fat is either behind my back or it's we're beefing. Because of that, now the teachers just saw me as, I was always seen as just this aggressor, or just this I don't know, I actually don't know how my teachers saw me. I'd actually love to know, because again, I feel like I need closure. I genuinely feel like I need closure sometimes. The thing is, there's too many examples. The one that kind of I'm hinting in at right now is the one that, like I said, I used to get in trouble for bullying. And then there was one time, there's one girl, she accused me of bullying her because, again, we were friends and we stopped being friends, and because we didn't hang out and we weren't friends, started saying I was bullying her. Now, she used to go to the teacher and say I was bullying her, and I remember there was one time we always used to go park after school. We were all in year 8, and it was a group of us girls, group of the boys, and we all used to hang out. We were close, so we always used to go park every day after school. These times we went park. Now, these were MSN days, everyone was ripping everyone. So the girl that was accusing me of bullying, the boys started ripping her, innit?
Okay.
So these are the times when we started doing prank calls, innit? So we always started prank calling. So the boys started prank calling her. And the boys were prank calling this girl, obviously calling her names. Like, being nasty, but we were kids. Like, everyone done it to everyone. Do you get it? Like, obviously some more than others, I hear it. But, you know, we're not innocent. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I was the golden saint. Yeah, I was a naughty kid at school. I was naughty, but I wasn't bad and I wasn't vicious. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't a bully. Like, I know what a bully is. I can't stand bullies. And I used to always stand up to bullies. Do you know how many girls in the year I used to back and get in trouble for backing their beef? Like, that's a whole other thing. So I know what a bully is, but I'm not a saint either. So yeah, the boys did prank call this guy and they were ripping into her. Obviously, I found it hilarious. Next day now, obviously, her mum reports it to the school. They then report it to the police. So it's serious stuff now, like serious shit. We're all in trouble, this and that. Ask me why I got excluded. As in, I got excluded out of the whole group of us, girls and boys. I got excluded for that situation with the prank calls.
But you didn't even have her number to call her.
No, I had her number.
Oh.
But I didn't call her. Okay. And I didn't talk the abuse. I was there as a witness, laughing.
So when you told them about the person who did do it, did you tell them the person who done it?
No, because I'm not a snitch. But obviously, I said it wasn't me, and I said it was the boys. And the thing is, it wasn't a thing that I needed to snitch, because when she told them, they knew it was the boys, because obviously I don't sound like a boy. The girl knew it was the boys, and she knew who the boys were. Do you know what I mean? We weren't hiding. You know, when you used to prank call back in the day, you didn't ever hide. Like, you didn't care if someone knew it was you, apart from if you were prank calling like the police or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I got excluded.
So she told them that it was you?
No, so she obviously said it was all of us.
Yeah.
We all got put in internal exclusion. but I got externally excluded.
So the teachers were the ones that selected you?
Yeah, so they chose me.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was year 8. And I remember, because do you know what? My mum, I remember she came in school because she was vexed, because she was like, why am I being suspended?
And what did they say?
And what about the rest of them?
Yeah, what about everyone else?
All right, and they just, I can't even remember, obviously we're talking 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember what their reasoning was, but it was basically along the lines of she's the ringleader.
Oh.
And this was in year 8. So can you imagine, that was a lot for me, getting excluded for a prank call as well. Like back then, I don't know how schools are now, but back then, for you to get an exclusion, it had to be like you hit a teacher, you got into a fight at school, like it was serious stuff. I got excluded for a prank call.
Wow.
And I remember even all the girls, this would BBM day, so I remember going home, being on MSN, everyone was messaging me like, oh, why did you get excluded? That's so unfair. So all of my peers could see the unfairness. And I was there thinking like, yes, I'm fair, but I just thought, oh, it's just...
And that's your direct experience of teachers
That's just one.
And
this is why I'm like, that's bullying, because my teachers... And when I say I want to make another disclaimer, not every single teacher, because we'll get into some of the great teachers that I had. But a lot of my teachers, they didn't want to actually get to know me. They had preconceptions based on my behavior. And the thing is, you can be a naughty kid, but that doesn't justify you getting singled out, receiving consequences for things that I haven't physically, virtually done. Because what that was teaching me is that I can get in trouble for things even if it isn't me.
Yeah, they don't care about the truth. They just need someone to blame.
Right. How is it that it was the boy speaking to the girl, but I got excluded? Even the boys were like... And then that also made me feel even worse, because everyone's talking among them. So I was like, oh, why didn't I get excluded?
And then the ringleader comment as well.
Yeah, oh, she's the ringleader, she's the gang leader. That's what I'm saying. Being a leader is great, but it comes at a cost.
It's really interesting you say that now, and I just want to say thank you for sharing, because that's a lot.
To cut you, but can you not tell how I'm still not over it by just how passionate I'm speaking about it?
And that's
it still bothers me. And I'm 26. This happened when I was 13. That's almost like, do you know what I mean?
And that's the thing. And when we talk about teachers, or even very much people who are in positions of power, but for the purpose of the podcast, let's just talk about teachers. You know, the people who they interact with, let's say their client group, are minors who are transitioning and going through that phase of from being a toddler to being a young child, through to preteen, through to adolescence. You're in the education system from such an early stage, and you go through it. And for me personally, it was always made to seem that, you know, you can't answer back to the teacher. What the teacher says goes. You know, if a teacher makes a decision, there's no need to search for the truth, and just what they say goes. And they didn't really care to do their due diligence or to investigate. In terms of certain teachers using that ability to say that they're older, or, you know, they have more experience, and because we're minors. And I think that's the hierarchy that you first experience institutionally. And when I say that, of course, you have the family. That's the first. This is what they say in the sociology books. The family is the first sort of social place you have. Then the next stage is education, right? So you always have some sort of teacher, some sort of miss or sir who's above you, who's there to educate you. But sometimes they can misuse that power for whatever reason. And so that's what your experience sounds like. They take advantage basically of the position that they're in.
Yeah,
some of them.
Definitely.
And they take advantage of your position as a child. That's the thing.
Because you're impressionable.
And there's no questions asked. You're just meant to respond to the teacher because they said goes. Yeah. Like, how many times I know in school, if a student challenged the teacher, even if the student was right, they'll get sent out the class.
Right.
And, you know.
I mean, look at that video that went around. It was viral not long ago, maybe a few months ago, of that African woman. I think she was a Nigerian lady. Yeah, she's a Nigerian lady, and her daughter goes to this Catholic school. And obviously they was talking about homosexuality.
Okay.
And obviously the little girl's talking about obviously what she has been taught about homosexuality being a sin and that you will go to hell.
Yeah.
Now obviously I'm part of the LGBT anyway, so for me I don't believe that. But that is what she's learned, that's what she grew up in. But the girl got put on internal exclusion.
Oh, wow.
So the mum called up and was like, and she was asked her opinion as well. They asked her opinion of what she thinks of homosexuality. So she was asked an opinion, she gave an answer, and because it wasn't deemed fit enough right for the teacher, she got put on internal exclusion. And even that internal exclusion is not great, because it's like a psychological kind of messes with your mindset of being excluded from your lessons, which I get it obviously as a punishment, but to always throw kids in internal, like I feel like it should be used as a severe punishment, not a light-hearted punishment. Like I had internals were thrown at me as if it was detention, and that's not cool. But my point is with this video is the mum obviously calls up and she says, no, my daughter's not doing the exclusion because you asked her opinion. So because you asked her opinion, she gave you her opinion, why is she now being punished just because? And they were like, because you know what she's saying can be quite hurtful and offensive to the other students who maybe gave themselves and blah blah blah. But she's like, but then you shouldn't ask my daughter her opinion.
But that's the thing, isn't it? And that's a great example as well, because it crosses the barriers in terms of how people are grown up in the family or home environment. And again, with the school being the first institution that bridges someone from the family into wider society, that's what's taking place. Essentially forcing the hand of how parents grow their children with their level of autonomy, because it's their children and their family and their beliefs, through exclusion and through things like that. And that's very contentious, because you can internalize all of those actions or punishments and think there's something wrong with me because of my beliefs and or my way of life, right? And we talk about everyone having their own beliefs and respecting everyone. We talk about being in a diverse and cosmopolitan society, but we also need to appreciate diversity of beliefs and perspectives and thoughts. And what I'm trying to say is that with the school responding in that way and excluding the person, it does send signals to a young person at that age. But then later in life, it impacts them. And that's what you was talking about as well. It impacts, you know, children at that age, that society is against them. So it can be perceived as bullies. But because you're within an institution, we can't use that phrase, and we can't see them in that way because they're meant to be good for us.
But the thing is, a lot of them do bullying for simple things like, and this is what I believe, a lot of them maybe have been victims of bullying at school themselves, and you know, it affected them, because bullying can have long-term effects. It can have lifelong effects. If you don't heal from it, it can. And there are a lot of people that I think haven't healed from being bullied at school. Then they become teachers and they see maybe resemblance or similarities in the students they teach to their personal bullies, and then they take it out on them. Like, for example, when teachers, even me, I had one of my maths teachers tell me that I would never admit to nothing because my mouth was never going to get me anywhere. And it's like, you are telling me I'm never going to admit to nothing, or all I'm good for is, what was it? All I'm good for is boasting around or something like that.
And that's the thing.
Like, what? You're telling me that, and you're an adult. And also, teachers are deemed as one of our first inspirations.
Yes.
One of our first role models. So imagine your role model, someone who you look up to, someone you think is accomplished, is telling you you're not going to amount to nothing. And teachers do it all the time.
That's mean. There's no need for teachers to say
teachers
things
can
like
be
that.
vicious.
I can understand.
I would love, sorry to interject, my darling, I would love to get one of those teachers here that told me I wouldn't amount to nothing, and ask them why they think it's good to tell students that they won't amount to nothing.
I mean, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? To put those teachers on the spot and really understand why they say those hurtful things, why they say, oh, you're just going to fail, or they say those negative connotations, and there's no need for it. Part of it, do you think it's jealousy? They don't.
But the thing is, if you're jealous of young kids, then that's saying something about you. Why are you in that field as well, first of all? I feel teachers are your first bullies, but also I feel like a segue as well is sometimes people's parents can be their first bullies as well. I want to put that out there, but that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other topic.
But definitely teachers. And I think another interesting point that I find as to why I do think teachers are your first bullies as well is a lot of them will kind of do cross manipulation stuff within the classroom. Like, have you ever had a teacher kind of, you ain't going to realize it now because you're a kid, but ever put you against or compare you to maybe somebody else in the class. Like, for example, like if you give in your coursework and then they'll say, oh yeah, it looks all right, but
they're making an example out of you.
Holly's done this and that. And I noticed, like, I found some of my teachers, like I remember my science teacher, she was messy. She loved the little beef. It's like she knew who didn't get along with who in the class, and she would do those little comparisons. Teachers are messy.
Yeah, they get the thrill of the drama, don't they?
Yeah, I found that teachers used to compare me a lot. Like, oh my god, there was one girl, actually, I don't know if I should name her just in case she starts crying. She's another one. No, seriously. I know I need to get over it, yeah, but honestly, so many of these girls back in school used to say I bullied them when I didn't, and it actually does bother me. Well, it used to bother me. Obviously, I'm an adult now. I remember there was one girl, she was like proper goody two-shoes girl, and I remember I got picked as a prefect. She got picked as head girl. Because I got picked as a prefect, they did it because I was naughty, so they thought that it would help me be good. And I remember that whole time I got picked as a prefect, it felt like a setup because I was always compared to the head,
in
to
terms of the
head
example.
Girl. Yeah, the other prefects. There was 2 from each family, like house. And they always used to compare me to her. And it actually used to do wonders on my self-esteem. But it also used to make me get salty at her as well. Because I'm like, I'm so sick of the teachers comparing us, man. Like, I feel like that's very manipulative that teachers do that.
It is manipulative. And I think with that whole comparison thing, if they're comparing you in terms of attitudes or they're comparing you in terms of grades or all those other things as well, I think there's ways and ways in delivering that message. I'm not too sure about how the education system is now, but definitely when we was in primary school, secondary school, those type of environments, there was always those comparisons in terms of behaviour. Like, I know, so I wouldn't say I was necessarily naughty, but I was chatty and my voice is loud. Everyone says you can hear me before you see me. And so, yeah, I guess there's completely truth to that. And all the things happening to me, like, I would be in there doing my work. Someone else is talking, making noise, saying silly comments. And then it's, oh, you pointing at me. Get out the class. I said, what did I do? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what did I really do? I said, it wasn't even me talking. I didn't want to hear it. It's just like I'm an easy option. So I definitely hear that just in terms of the picking on students and those things. And then when we come to talk about the language that they use, maybe they do say those things like you'll never amount to nothing. So that actually riles something up within inside you. So you think, yeah, I'm going to show you. And people, it's very interesting when people talk about educational experiences because people tend to say, oh, there was this teacher that was like this or there was this teacher that was like that. But there's also those teachers that really embrace you as well. And I think that's something to also talk about, just looking at it on the flip side.
And don't even get me started, about the teachers that couldn't even pronounce my name and ridicule. I will never forget, I remember the PE teacher. Now, he was already a sexist, misogynist anyway. I knew that from when I was in school. I must have got an award for javelin. Yeah. He couldn't pronounce my name. Now, okay, granted, I don't have the easiest name in the world, but instead of even asking or even trying to syllabalize my name, he called me so far off my name. The whole school, I'm talking year 7 to year 11 staff, the whole school assembly, everybody laughed at me. So I had to walk down, collect my award while everyone was laughing and sniggering at me because he just got my name so wrong. And again, we're talking, this is 10 years down. And I remember that day crystal clear because the way I felt at the expense of a teacher because they were too ignorant.
With that example, so do you feel that the teacher deliberately done that to mispronounce your name?
It's not deliberate, but also you have a responsibility as a teacher. That's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of teachers don't understand the impact that they actually have on students. Being a teacher, you're not just a teacher and you boss your subject and that's it.
It's much
you're
more.
A caregiver to a child. I grew up in a dysfunctional household. And school was my escape. So my teachers sometimes had to be confident when I'm leaving very abusive environments. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's actually serious stuff. And that is why I bring it back to say teachers are your first bullies. Because when you're not led by a decent teacher, when you're not in the hands by a decent teacher who actually cares for you, it can have impacts on you that are nasty. The amount of times I used to cry, because they used to hang the bell of kicking me out over my head.
Oh.
They used to hang it over my head. I remember,
taunting.
There was one time, these year 11 girls got into a big scrap. Fights in school is like the creme de la creme, CNN front page news. When there's fighting going on in school, everyone loves it, So obviously these year 11s are going to the local park to fight. So obviously we're all following them. This is after school now. We got the drop on BBM that there was this fight going on between these girls. Cool. So obviously we're like, yeah, we're gonna watch the fight with bystanders. The next day now, the residents saw it, called the school, because obviously that's one thing, innit? I don't know why. You know what? We're all stupid when we used to actually fight and do naughty things in our uniform, because it's like, do you really think you're not going to get caught? Like, you're stealing from shops, you're playing knockout ginger in your uniform. But anyway, listen, it was part of our childhood. It's memories, it's great, it's character building. But the next day now, they bring all the girls that were fighting, all of us. Imagine, I'm just a bystander, I'm not involved. These are year 11 girls, I'm in year 10. Yeah, I get called out a lesson and I have to go to the deputy head. Okay. So you know, if you're getting called out a lesson to see the head or the deputy head, you're in trouble. Yeah. So I'm getting shook now, and I was like, and they were like, oh, got news that there was a fight yesterday between these year 11 girls. We heard your name was mentioned for being there. And I was like, yeah, I was there. Like, I was watching, but I wasn't in the fight. I came after. And she was like, well, I'm going to tell you now, it's a good job. Because what had happened was we wanted to go earlier to catch the full of the fight. But the head teacher kept us back for some reason. We didn't know why. But it made sense now, because the head was like, you're lucky that you wasn't there at the time of that fight, because I was going to put you on a one-way exclusion. Wow. And I was like, for what? And she was like, because you were there. Like, you're just lucky that you wasn't there. Wow. Definitely. Just for being there. Targeted. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, this was my life throughout secondary school. Have you had any? I feel like I've been saying there loads of times. Have you had any kind of stories where you felt like your teachers have been bullies?
You know what? For me, genuinely speaking, I felt like there were some teachers that would try it, but ultimately they couldn't bring me down. They couldn't bring me down, and it was one of those ones. I was quite studious, I'll say, but I'm also very chatty. What they used to say to me is that you're disruptive, and I'm sabotaging and disrupting myself, but also that of others. I said, but how is it me impacting that of others when they can choose to talk to me or not? Do you get it? So I didn't really understand that whole explanation as to why I had certain sanctions in school. But nonetheless, you know, they couldn't bring me down. And when they just couldn't. And when it came to results, obviously, I'd done fairly well at GCSEs, and also even more so at A-level too. If anything, I would say I probably had more positive teachers. And that's the flip side that I was talking about before, in terms of it just really depends. My school also had pastoral care as well. We also had year leaders as well. Just one person who is an adult that can actually give you that glimmer of hope when you're in that environment. Let's look at the other side. Have you had a teacher like that? What, someone who believes in you?
Like 100%. There's been a few. Like, that's one thing. Like, as much as there has been a lot of bad teachers, there are so many good teachers don't get paid half of what it is they deserve. Like, teachers are so important, and there are some great teachers. I've had some amazing teachers. Like I said, my school experience was very rocky because I came from quite a dysfunctional household. So a lot of the time, you know, I was trying to discover myself at school. I was one of those kids that were at school dealing with stuff at home. So I had a lot of supportive teachers. Like, my head of year, that's PE teacher, Miss Luckman, she was loving. Like, she really didn't give up on me. She really gave me chances, and she really did care for me. And like, I just remember she was caring and so understanding, and she didn't pose judgment. And like, I even remember one time I almost got into a fight with this girl. Bless her, she had to like proper restrain me. She was only small. I just remember her being my head of year as well. It was like the best thing ever, because obviously your head of year is who you really report into the most. So reporting to, you can tell I'm an adult. And she was just so like understanding. And I think another teacher was I had a really nice German teacher, Mrs. Warren, as well. She was a bit less kind of involved and hands-on, because I think she also was quite emotional as a teacher as well. So she wasn't as full on with me, but she was still lovely. One of the teachers, and I'll never forget this, and I pray to this day, I really hope one day in life that I will bump into her again, was my sixth form teacher. I ended up having just really traumatic times when I was at sixth form as well. That's the first time I think I ever experienced like true depression, like really deep depression. And I remember I wanted to drop out of college. Like, I hated sixth form because I hated life, let alone having to travel. And off top of that, I was living off of like £57 a week. Wow. Living in a hostel at 16, and I just didn't want to go anymore. And I remember her name's Georgina Webb Dickin, and I'm so sad because I can't find her. I've looked for her and I can't find her anywhere, like on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Can't find her anywhere. Don't know if she works there anymore. She worked at Cotton. I remember one time I took performing arts as an A-level. I got chucked off the course because I never attended. I got kicked off the course, and then that's when I was like, yeah, I'm just going to drop out. Like, it was rock drama because I couldn't cope. I remember she kept saying to me, why are you not coming in? Why are you not coming in? I was like, I just don't want to, like, I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you are not giving up. Like, you told me you want to be a presenter. You told me you want to be a radio presenter. Doing this, you're going to get your A-level media. And she would not give up on me. She made sure, like, I was getting bus pass.
Yeah.
She made sure that I got free meals. Like, she sorted me out. She got me on this program that they did with the BBC, where I got to actually go to BBC Radio Bristol and do workshops with them.
That's good.
She, honestly, I wish more people had a teacher like her. She did everything she could for me, and even when I actually did manage to get one A-level, I got a C in media, which I never thought I would get, considering everything I was going through and me wanting to not be there anyway. And I remember the results day, and I came up and I was like, Miss, I got a C. She was so proud of me. She's like, see, I knew you could do it. All it takes is for that teacher. You could be listening to this right now and you have parents that bully you, or parents that don't treat you great, or people around you in your life that don't treat you great, and you may be feeling low. Your self-esteem may be low and you may be feeling worthless. But I'm telling you, all it takes is that one person to believe in you.
Yeah,
and she was that for me. And I really wish I could find her, honestly, because she even bought me a book, How to Make Great Radio, and she bought me a book as a leaving gift when I left. And what did I do? Move to London and become a radio presenter.
Yes! Tell him again.
And honest to God, Miss Webb Dickin, if you ever hear this, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for not giving up on me. Just thank you. Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional. Is this going to be the first episode I'm going to cry? No, seriously, just thank you so much, Miss Webb Dickin, because had you had given up on me, I don't know where I would have been.
Oh, bless.
Probably in the next Vicky Pollard. So, oh my God, I'm actually rearing up.
Oh, no.
No, because this is what I'm saying. It's just important to have just those, like, just that one role model. But yeah,
it is important. Oh, that's a lovely testimony.
I think this is the first tears that we've had.
It's real life conversations.
Honestly, I'm not joking. If she didn't, I really fear where I don't even know if I'd be here. Like, it's that real.
Teachers need to approach kids with a blanket approach. You don't know what they're coming into the school environment from in the morning. You don't know what the environment is like outside of that environment. All you know is that within this environment, please, genuinely, as Whitney says, believe children are the future. Show and let them lead the way, genuinely. But we have to support them with that. Adults in those occupations need to support with that.
They need the training. They need the funding.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
And the emotional intelligence.
They need the emotional, and that's another thing as well. And sometimes those things just can't be taught. Think of all those boys, especially the boys that suffer from autism, ADHD, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the neurodiverse children.
Yeah. All they need is that extra patience and care. And a lot of kids act out for a reason. And I feel like a lot of them, where we all know about the youngers now and the knife crime, it's all a cycle. School plays a big part. That's not to say the school's responsible for stopping people carrying knives, because of course they're not. But a lot of these boys now that are on the road carrying knives, a lot of them is because they got kicked out of school because their schools just gave up on them. And what they do, they send them in a PRU. And then what do they do in these PRU wards, like these units, referral units? They just mess about all day, every day, because the teachers don't get paid enough. So they're like, well, why am I putting all my effort in with these naughty kids and I'm not even seeing the money for it? So they just let the kids mess about. And then what happens? Kids get thrown out of that because they're acting out. They're not stimulated.
Yeah.
Then once you're thrown out of school, a lot of these boys are lost. Once they get kicked out of school, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the story that you hear.
I've seen it firsthand happen personally. Portia, what do you actually think are some of the things that teachers need or that can help with students not feeling bullied by their teachers?
Teachers definitely need to have an initial assessment in terms of how they are as a person, and that's looking at their cognitive behavioural habits, right? Because you're dealing with children. They need to be safeguarded. You need to have an awareness as an adult, but as a teacher in that occupation, who are you as a person, right? And fair enough, we're all human, we all have emotions. How is that going to impact you in a classroom with 30 other children? How are you going to deal with that in the correct way without looking at it subjectively? Then, of course, I think they need more awareness in terms of sociology, in terms of how people can be socialised, and awareness, I think, in terms of particular ethnic demographics as well, and certain, cultures. You spoke about beliefs and things like that. How are you going to navigate that? How are children, growing up, how are they all going to coexist, in these classrooms when you're talking about certain subjects, like particularly things like citizenship, RIP or RE, where there are some, you know, contentious conversations which can be had. How do you govern that as a teacher? I really do think there should be more screening for teachers in terms of going into the occupation.
Yeah,
you know, as you said earlier, some individuals do go into that profession for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying everyone would have the same motivations, but fundamentally you must want to educate children and actually believe in their futures, and you be a part of that journey for them achieving success.
We know not all teachers are bullies, we're not saying that, but a fair few of you are.
Yeah.
And I don't think you even realise it's bullying.
Yeah, I definitely think there's more that can be done.
Well, I feel like we've covered a lot, but we'll hold it at that. These episodes keep getting longer and longer. We just got too much background to say. But thank you so much for listening. I have been your host, Nai. Please make sure you follow us on all of our socials at Tears and Laughter Podcast.
Absolutely. And I'm your host, Portia. We really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. If there's any comments or feedback that you have, please DM us on our...
And let us know. We want to know some of your experiences as well when it comes to teachers. What were your experiences like with your teachers? Like, please let us know, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that had these horror stories.
Yeah, it would be lovely for you to share your own experiences with us as well. You know, we understand the significance of this topic. So thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in our next one.
Bye.